Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast. Hope everybody is doing great. I hope my podcast partner is doing great. Dan Wiederer of The Athletic is here. I am Mark Grote of The Score. WEEKDAY. We're just ahead of another Bears game, a winnable game against the Giants. How you feeling today, man?
Friday, week 10. I feel great. It is a good time around here in Lake Forest with the Bears preparing as favorites to go to 6-3 potentially against the Giants on Sunday. You can feel the energy in the building. It's an interesting time here in Chicago in a good way. And a lot of times we get to this time of year and we're going, it's an interesting time in Chicago, and it's not like this. So it's kind of fun to be a part of.
Yes, this is our we do it a lot. It's a very special episode. It is a listen to this episode, and some of the things that we're going to be hearing from Dan and I did a locker room interview this week. I can't wait for our audience to hear CD Gardner-Johnson as Dan and I, the Take the North podcast, went to his locker. He entertained us and he informed us. And that is something you're going to hear from here in just a little bit. We've got about 6 good minutes with a guy that I think a lot of people want to get to know a little bit better. And I will just tell you, like, we had a little fun with him at the end, but Dan, I thought, like, talking to him, and you never know what you're going to get from CD Gardner-Johnson just based on accounts of him. You and I are just getting to know him. I thought it was a terrific interview in terms of him taking it seriously and kind of being X and O's during the interview.
Engaged for sure.
Yes,
Nice to
yes.
see, and so I think it was the right volume for both sides, for him and for you and I. Like we got to the right time limit and said, okay, this is good here. We'll part ways now, and it's going to be fun for our audience to hear that.
Yeah, I can't wait. And we got a few cuts that will lead up to it. We've got like the CD Gardner-Johnson pregame show. We've got some juicy stuff we're going to play early. But let's start really quickly before we get into it. There is a key injury, a couple of things that we should share with you, mostly being TJ Edwards, Dan, who is not going to play. You were out at Haugh. I was not on Friday. So what is going on with TJ Edwards that you can share with us based on what the coach told the assembled media?
Yeah, Mark, we learned on Friday that TJ Edwards had surgery this week to repair a fracture in his hand. And so he is out now with both a hand issue and a hamstring issue that's been lingering since the season began. And so now Ben Johnson sort of saying that the team's not ready to press the injured reserve button for TJ Edwards right now, believing he can come back fairly soon. But there's 2 injuries now to deal with. One that they believe they can club up with that hand that, again, there's surgery to repair a fracture in there, and now a hamstring issue, which has been causing problems since August, really. And so now you've got to get your arms around that and figure out a way to find a path for TJ Edwards to get back on the football field. The Bears' run defense is worse without TJ Edwards, and so you want to see him be part of a complete defense. And this is just another setback that has become par for the course in an NFL season.
No doubt. And look, Noah Sewell has been name checked several times this year. Ryan Poles, in our conversation with him the other day, praised the work that Noah Sewell has done. So that's nice to see him up and coming. And quite frankly, this year, Tremaine Edmunds has been the Bears' best linebacker, and hopefully this week he can get into the end zone for real after the fake pick 6 last week.
Yeah, and if you're in your base defense, you got DeMarco Jackson getting some reps there when you go with 3 linebackers. And so there's all a ripple effect to all of this. I would say the other notable thing from the Friday injury report is that DeAndre Swift was not here at practice on Friday, listed as personal reasons for why he missed this. He was a full participant in practice on Thursday, but missing Friday because of personal reasons, and he's listed as questionable for the game. I still would be very, very much in anticipation of him being on the football field Sunday when the Giants come to town. We'll see what direction that goes.
And he did say the other day in the locker room to myself and 2 other reporters when asked, are you going to play? And he said, yes. There was no gray area in the answer. We know that is not the final call, but quite honestly, this year, when players have told us or told me or told you that they were going to play this year or play in an individual game, they have played. So I do have a good feeling. And quite frankly, before we get to the sound, Dan, I am really looking forward to a healthy DeAndre Swift with maybe an up-and-coming Kyle Monunga. When I say that, I'm not saying like a star, but he may have, and I understand it was a bad defense, but I want to see how these 2 running backs are used in tandem this week, because it's getting a little bit closer to the Ben Johnson dream of having 2 potent running backs like he did in Detroit.
Yeah, and Ben was asked on Friday about kind of his philosophy on running back usage, and he said sometimes you go into a game with a couple plays on your call sheet that are specific to one back, and you're like, I want to use this for DeAndre, I want to use this for Kyle. Otherwise, it's just, hey, you're going to get the first series, and then we're gonna work you guys in by series, and so it'll be interesting to see how that distribution goes on Sunday against the Giants because we've been teasing it all week. We expect this to be a run heavy game where the Bears have a lot of opportunities and potentially a lot of success.
No doubt. All right. Let's like I said, we've got CD Gardner-Johnson coming up, but we got some hot stuff right here as we get into Listen to This. Dan, where would you like to start this week's edition of Listen to This?
Ball location.
Bears.
Of course, we're going to start this one with ball location.
Ball location.
I thought this would be an interesting listen for our audience because it's a two-word phrase that we've been hearing a lot in the last couple of months, and it's certainly a phrase that quarterback Caleb Williams has been hearing every single day of his life for the last several months as he's learned to listen to the demands and the priorities of his coaching staff. And so ball location is something that Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle and JT Barrett and everybody else that's in this building have been emphasizing with Caleb Williams. We know how important run after catch is to this Ben Johnson offense. In order for that to be maximized, the quarterback's got to put balls where his receivers can catch them on the run. Runner's ball, they call it here. And so ball location is important to that. A week ago, I had the opportunity to ask Ben Johnson about ball location. This week, I followed up with Caleb Williams asking what message he hears kind of when he's getting this daily drumbeat from his coaching staff. Here's what both of those men had to say about ball location.
The topic of ball location with the quarterback, what are the things you can do to enhance that improvement process?
Yeah, I think that's a daily quest that you talk about. You reinforce, you make sure it's on the forefront of his mind in everything that we do. It's the drill work, it's routes on air, it's the team periods of practice, and you expect it to carry over to games. And that's, man, accuracy is the hardest thing to, I think, I'm not going to say improve on, but really teach. I think when you're a coach, it's something that a lot of players, a lot of quarterbacks, when they come into the NFL, you usually have it or you don't. And you're always looking as a coach to how do we get guys open cleaner? How do we help get aligned properly from our lower body mechanics to where we can be most accurate with throwing the football. So as long as it's a conscious effort, every single rep, whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's over the course of practice, I do think those things add up, and you see improvement over the course of time.
This coaching staff is harped on you a lot about ball location.
Yep.
You go for it. What's the message you hear from them when that's brought up day after day after day?
Yeah, it's the same exact thing. It's runner's ball. Give your guys the best shot. Because, we got some guys on this team that can take a 5-yard route, a 15-yard route, or, something like a go ball for a touchdown and break tackles, whatever they have to do to create explosive plays for us, big plays for us, keep us ahead of the sticks. And so giving them the best chance possible and giving them a chance is something that I've been working on, something that we've been building. I think a lot of the misses per se that I've had is through the early part of the season would be, just building this trust and rapport with these guys. And it's, us being on the same page, exactly where you're going to sit and, the body language and all these different things. And so that's a part of playing QB back there and, building this trust and rapport with these guys.
Grody, there's a lot there. I'll start with Ben because I think that when we heard this a week ago from the mouth of the head coach, it triggers a few little alarm bells in your head when he says, accuracy is something that's the hardest thing for a coach to teach in the NFL, and you usually have it or you don't. And it's sort of an acknowledgement that there's a limitation here with Caleb Williams that they're trying to work around. You hear Ben talking about trying to do his best to get receivers open cleaner with the way he designs concepts and plays, and then pushing Caleb every single day to understand the importance of his lower body mechanics, all the things that go into creating the best possible throw there. But I don't know if you agree with me that there was certainly an acknowledgement that, oh yeah, this is maybe a flaw that we didn't anticipate. And now we're just trying to troubleshoot through it in a way that's best for everybody.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, to all of my partners on the Take the North podcast, I can hear the audio. We're having some audio issues. I can hear it. We're having some serious consternation before the podcast because on an episode called Listen to This, I couldn't hear the audio, but I heard it loud and clear right there.
Now our YouTube audience knows while you were throwing both fists up and celebrating.
Yes! I was like, I can hear it. This is so great. Look, Caleb Williams right now, we all know that Ben Johnson set the goal for 70% completion rate. And I know that's not everything that we're talking about here. He's just over a little bit over 60% completion rate right now. The likes and dislikes I had in regards to ball placement. The Colston Loveland play, good ball placement, obviously. Duh.
Yeah.
He was able to catch it and run with it. That's what we're talking about. The play to Cole Kmet, not good ball placement when he got knocked out of the game at one point in time. Was that last week or am I thinking 2 weeks ago? That was the last game. Yeah. That's right. That was because Cole had the injury late in the game previously too, when he actually missed the game, and he is back this week, by the way. And then the Roma Dunze play where it wasn't perfectly put, a little bit to the inside, and I think that Roma Dunze probably needs to make that catch. Sure. But there are examples that you could look at and say, yeah, I see exactly what the head coach is saying about that. And I think that, Caleb Williams understands that. And it's all about, we've been hearing this mantra, with Ben Johnson and his predecessors, get the ball into the hands of your playmakers and let them make a play.
It's no secret that the color analysts the last several weeks on Bears games have been harping on this as well, which tells you how big of an emphasis this is inside this building, where it's become sort of a talking point for everyone. Let's see where Caleb can get his ball location so that this offense can go to another level. I will say this, that the Lions led the NFL last year in yards after catch, and Jared Goff's statistics were pumped up and inflated because he was able to put the football where his playmakers could go run with it, and there's a little secret sauce to that. And so I think Caleb's understanding the importance of it. You heard from Ben in that clip. It's just like, we're not necessarily going to be able to just manufacture it out of nowhere, but if we can make it a focal point and an emphasis in everything we do, from walkthrough to routes on air to, drills to 7-on-7 to team periods, little by little, you're going to see a little bit of a spike in the improvement in that area, and hopefully the Bears get to where they want to go.
I love it. Yeah, all in the name of building a good to great quarterback for the Chicago Bears. What else we got, Dan, here? And listen to this.
Well, we've got a longtime friend of the podcast, Patrick Mannelly. He's a guy who's played a little football in this town. He knows a little thing or two about special teams as well, and I believe he was on your show earlier this week with you and Layla and Marshall, just talking about the entire dynamics of a week ahead for the Bears that is going to be, as we mentioned in our previous episode, very, very, very focused on the special teams response to that poor performance in Cincinnati. I'll let you set this one up, but it sounds like Pat, once again, is going to deliver some knowledge here for us.
Yeah. I mean, definitely going to talk about like what specifically needs to be done to make the special teams better. And I will just say, from talking to Patrick Mannelly at the post-game show the other day, I went and watched them do, him and Olin and Mully, and he was just shaking his head. I think his sensibilities were insulted a little bit. He was very direct here. Here's Patrick Mannelly.
Man, you want my honest answer?
Yes. Yeah. Always.
Sometimes it's okay to move on from a coach. Sometimes it's okay to move on for some players. Sometimes it's okay to move players around into different positions. So I'll start with the third one, and I've thought about this, is moving guys into different positions because they're not getting it done. Daniel Hardy is their best special teams player, in my opinion. And I say that because he's always the guy being double teamed on kickoff coverage. And normally as a coach, opposing coach, you're going to double team their best player, and he is that guy. But he always lines up in the same position, so you know where he's lining up. So move guys around. Find that he always lines up as the 3, the R3 or the L3. Maybe move him to a 4, a 5, a different position. So some of these guys, they have enough talent on there, in my opinion. They have Travis Homer, Josh Blackwell, and Daniel Hardy. When you have 3, call them special teams dogs, you should be better than they are. Maybe he's playing them in the wrong position. So I would start with that. Move guys around. I know it's the middle of the season, but those are 3 veterans that have played different positions all throughout their career, and move them around. And maybe you can find a spot where they can be highlighted a little bit more, because they're just not making splash plays. And then the other thing is, there's some guys that aren't playing very well. And I'll call them out. Walker, the receiver, young player coming in the NFL playing special teams is difficult. He has a tough time tackling. He has a tough time staying in his lane. He gets blocked. I'm just being honest with what I saw on tape. And that would be what I would be telling him, is that, hey, you've got to pick up your play, or I've got to find somebody else. But the problem is, there's so much depth problem on this team. It's hard to get guys to fill into these spots. But you need to move some of these guys around to figure out where they fit better because they're not fitting in properly right now.
What do you think of that, Dan? I mean, that's pretty direct right there in the solution business for this special teams.
And it's credible, right? It's direct and it's credible because Pat knows what he's talking about. And we've heard the phrase lane integrity brought up here this week by multiple people in terms of what the errors were last week on some of the kickoff coverage. You hear some of the specific call outs there from Pat. It's a cruel league, and Jahdae Walker's been a underdog story here. He's been a very pleasant addition to this football team, a guy who walks in the building every day with a lot of energy. But when your opportunities come to play, you've got to make plays. As Pat says there. Otherwise, it's your fun story doesn't last as long if you can't get there. And so, look, like there's a lot that goes into the special teams unit playing at its best. I think the Bears' injury attrition is important to note here. This is the first time I think since you and I have been together on this beat where we've seen the locker stalls come to the middle of the locker room in the middle of the season because they've run out of locker stalls because there's so many guys hurt that they just need more lockers. And so like that's part of this because that ripples down to special teams quickly. It puts a challenge on the coaches to find the answers. Again, I think we're going to get an answer soon for the Bears and Imagn Bamiga as we played in our last episode. But ultimately, you've got to find answers quickly because nobody wants to hear your sob story.
Nope, they don't, and they got to be good. Like you can make errors on special teams, but not the amount of errors, the volume of large errors that they made last week just cannot happen. But great stuff right there from Patrick Mannelly. Are we ready for our grand finale here, Dan? I listened to this.
I believe we are ready for our grand finale on here, and you can set the stage of how we approached the young defensive back, the journeyman. He's been around this year, fourth team of the calendar year for CD Gardner-Johnson, and he got to know the Take the North podcast.
Yes, he did, and everybody knows, sir. I think people know the background of CD Gardner-Johnson, a little bit of a suspect at times on the field and some of the moves. Like we Bears fans know that from Javon Wims and Anthony Miller taking punches at him. He's antagonistic. He likes to talk. He's not always been known as a great locker room guy. So you have all of that. Like he's sort of this an NFL villain, it feels like in a lot of ways. And I might be exaggerating. So he's one of those guys who, as a reporter, you got to talk to all these guys, but sometimes you got to tread lightly, and sometimes you get no's from guys that are not interested in talking. Dan and I were in the locker room, and, we both have our own agendas in the locker room. Dan's working on writing stories. I'm trying to get audio for the afternoon show and like doing my Bears hit. So we're working the locker room. And at one point in time, you and I kind of converged in the middle randomly. We were just chit chatting, and we're like, I'm looking over there. I was like, hey man, you think we should go talk to, CD Gardner-Johnson? And you kind of looked at me like, like, I don't know, maybe. You're like, yeah, you were interested, but I could tell you're like, we better make sure we got our ducks in a row here.
Well, that's it. Like I had just come from talking to Jonah Jackson, who's one of the more friendly guys in the locker room. And so, the approachable guys, and you can just be really kind of low key. You go up to a CD Gardner-Johnson, as you said, you better have your ducks in a row. Otherwise you might get yourself embarrassed in that locker room.
Exactly. Or it may just not be amenable to the questions. So we had a quick meeting, but we didn't have time to sit there and listen. I was like, come on, let's go. So we go over to CD Gardner-Johnson. We didn't like do a whole big introduction or anything. Like we said, hey, you got a little time? He had his boom box going, playing the music and all that stuff, had his shirt off. And we're like, hey, you got some time? And he said, yes. He said, absolutely, fellas. And then it was our time to deliver. So we're going to let you listen to this. And then right after we'll react to it and fill in any of the blanks that we need to. But we started the interview by asking him what it's like after one game with the Chicago Bears where he did make some plays.
How good did it feel to get out there and to contribute? You made a couple plays, had the sack on third down. How gratifying is that to start your Bears career, so to speak?
It's familiar territory playing with DA. Now I got to get comfortable and being, how can I say it, able to make more plays within the defense by being more detailed even more since I've been here. Gave up a touchdown last week, detailing-wise. So I think that and playing my leverages a little bit better and understanding what coach is calling for me to do so I can continue to make an impact early like I've been doing.
What's the challenge as a newcomer of getting acclimated to a whole new group of guys in a locker room? You're obviously not a wallflower, but
yeah, just really understand like what they're comfortable with and like who I am, which they're pretty comfortable who I am. Locker room's pretty outgoing, so I think it's been easy for me to transition. So going on the field has kind of been easier. Everybody like how's going to gel the locker room? I say starting first game here, or gel pretty well, I guess. And then you see how the guys was gravitating toward me after the sack. Yeah. Besides the sack, guys were just telling me to keep playing ball and keep being me because guys know me from who I've been and who I am and what I've done in this league.
You talked about the details, and you mentioned giving up the touchdown. How much long does that stay with you? Because it's always different with cornerbacks and safeties on how far you let that stay in your head, so to speak.
Being at nickel now, I know I got people around me to help me and prevent it more than being on the eye like a corner. So I got safety inside helping linebacker. So I think being an inside presence and honing on my technique a little bit more so I could prevent those players from happening, regardless if it's a 1-yard touchdown or 2-yard touchdown. Yeah.
Do you have guys that play the slot that you've emulated or studied over the years, either past or present?
Sheesh. Coop, DeJean, Kenny Moore, KG, respect. Jalen Ramsey's playing a lot of nickel, so he's getting it. And then I say really all the new younger guys that's like getting their feet inside, like McCool was playing a little bit of nickel. Shout out to the guys in Minnesota, Brian Murphy playing nickel. There's a lot of guys out there that's been doing this position, the hybrid position for a while, so it's kind of hard to tone in on one.
Describe the importance of eyes to that position. I mean, that's...
eyes that take you where we need to go in that box and to your right coverage. So, yeah.
What do you think about the upcoming opponents, the Wandale and Slayton and these guys? Obviously been around these dudes, so what do you think about them?
I played them for a couple of years. This year probably. I played them for a couple of years straight now. Great group. They got a quarterback now, so with confidence and fire, so we got to go out there with confidence and fire to match them.
You got something for rookie quarterbacks now that you're a veteran, man. Like, do you think about that? Like, are there things that, whether you'd share with us or not, you think in the back of your head that are common things when you go up against a young quarterback in terms of getting to him or getting in his head?
He bring a fire to that team, so you got to really tame the fire because when it gets going, it's rolling. As you've seen a couple weeks back when they was on the road in Denver, and when they play home against Philly, they actually know how to get the train rolling. So really maintain the fire, understand that we've got to keep everything in front of us.
How does that fire show up for Jackson? Obviously,
he does a lot of great. To be honest with you, for a young quarterback, and regardless of the record, he's played damn good ball by keeping his team in a lot of close games and giving his team a chance to win. So people got to respect that. Like regardless of the score, like for example, the Denver game. He gave his team a chance to win, you know. He played with a chip on his shoulder and got a heart on the sleeve, and he's a great competitor.
You've been to the mountaintop in this league. You've won a Super Bowl now. You joined this locker room where the belief seems to be building. What do you sense that is inside here right now? You're only here a week, but what do you sense?
Confidence from the staff and confidence from the players. Once the coach staff installs that confidence in the players, it's just contagious. I think that's what's going on right now.
Speaking of your teammates, Jaquan Brisker last week was talking about you and Tyreek Stevenson and the talking that could go down, and he was having fun.
Say nothing in the game.
You know?
Shawnee, did I say anything in the game last week? Was I talking shit last week in the game?
When you got your sack.
He wasn't? Did that disappoint?
I was humble.
Okay. That's a little disappointing to me, quite frankly.
When I got sacked, I was popping it.
Oh, you were popping it.
I was popping it.
He was popping it. Okay. There's nothing wrong with trash talk, is there? Like, do people...
I'm trying to stay in the locker room, that's all.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So much,
appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, great stuff there with C.D. Gardner-Johnson, and I feel like we could have probably gone longer with him, but I think we were giving him the courtesy of not completely going overboard. But I really liked him being specific and obviously having done his homework on Jackson Dart, who comes to Soldier Field with little experience, but 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions this year through 8 games. He's played in 8 games. He's had 6 starts so far this year, but I was pretty impressed with that part of it, Dan.
And look, like I think our eyes are going to be on the football field on Sunday to see if C.D. Gardner-Johnson finds his way over into the earshot of Jackson Dart to try to rile him up a little bit, maybe get him off his game a little bit. Jackson Dart seems like the type of player that will be in for the interaction, right? Like, let's go, let's have fun with this today, and so it'd be entertaining if those two guys can cross paths a couple times, don't you think?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And you heard him downplaying the trash talking, and you heard some of his teammates chiming
Sean
in.
Wright shouting in from the background. Yeah, I think Andrew Billings even shouted something from across the room there. At one point.
It's like, what? Everybody was involved with the Take the North podcast. Yeah, TTN. No, it was pretty cool that he gave us the time that he did. And look, I even told him, I don't remember who was on the air. No, I think it was part of that. I was like, hey man, yeah, I like the trash talking. You don't got to duck it. It's all good. Like I'm not trying to indict you as long as it doesn't get, as long as guys aren't, well, actually it wouldn't be bad if guys tried to punch him in the face.
As long as he doesn't punch back and as long as it's not offsetting penalties or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think his value to this locker room right now is the fact that he can be a versatile playmaker for Dennis Allen at a time where they need guys that can fill those voids. And so with Kyler Gordon on the shelf, you got a new character introduced into this very compelling 2025 story for the Bears, and we just got to learn a little bit more about him here on TTN.
No doubt. Before we get out of here, you said that you had some stuff from the Bears backup quarterback Tyson Beagent.
Yeah. First of all, congrats to Tyson Beagent, who welcomed his first child into the world just late last month, October 20th, Linny June Beagent. And so I started there with Tyson today as we caught up. Just told him welcome to fatherhood, and hope you enjoy the ride, as I know you will. You know Tyson, he's an intense guy, but he's got that soft side to him. So he's going to be a dad who's into it at all times. And I'm looking forward to that part of things. But I will tell you this, there's not a single person in this building at Haugh who admires and has been taken by Ben Johnson more than Tyson Beagent. We spent a good chunk of our conversation today talking about that. And Tyson's, I'll give you a couple little random samplings where he said, look, like, I don't know what I'm going to do when my playing career is over, but Ben is the first person in my world that's made me think about going into coaching when it's all done. Wow. And he said he's the first guy I've been around that has shown an ability to bring that dog mentality to a coaching position, right? And so that intensity is something that really resonates with somebody like Tyson. We talked about it on our last episode, Grote, like the passion that Ben has is infectious to a lot of guys, particularly other guys who have passion. Tyson is one of those guys who's a passionate dude who wants to come in the building every day with something to work on. He also just really, the reason we started talking is because he got to run a play last week, right? Baby Daddy was the name of the play, which marries this all together in a pass that he could have thrown to Colston Loveland, but ended up making the right decision, throwing it to Caleb Williams for a 20-yard gain. And Tyson just had great appreciation for the coaching staff's vote of confidence in him to be involved in a game. He says, look, like when you're a backup quarterback, you have to accept a lot of behind the scenes work. You have to invest in it. You have to understand your role. You take pride in being part of the preparation, but it was really nice on a Sunday to be part of the execution in a game, right? And to get a chance for one play. And he said, you see it early in the week. Like, this is up this week. Baby Daddy's up this week. I've got to master my chance. He's like, either it's you get one chance to go out in the field. It's either going to be a really good day or it's going to be a really bad day. And the ability to capitalize on that, I think it meant a lot to Tyson. And it's just part of just another small little example of Ben being able to push the right buttons to create a connection with the entire locker room and then with individual guys, right? To keep their focus, to keep their attention and get the most out of them. And it's like if you ever need some juice, just go ask Tyson Beagent a few questions about what he thinks about Ben Johnson. And you'll be like, okay, I'm in, right? Like, I'm in, you're juiced up.
And then he'll rattle off like 20 burpees and then go home and take care of his beautiful baby.
Do some broad jumps. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great episode. Another episode of Listen to This. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the Bears game, and we'll be breaking it down all next week here on the Take the North podcast. For Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, for Adam Stadzinski, the producer of the Take the North podcast, I am Mark Grote of The Score, saying thank you so much for watching and listening to the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.